So to me, and all the stuff that he said about Charlie Kirk, and you have Tucker Carlson being platformed. Oh yeah, Turning Point USA, which is fine. That's what they want to do, right? But it's just like, okay, this is gonna be a crash because it looks like there's a vacuum. Everybody's trying to fill the void of Charlie Kirk. Okay, so Tucker Carlson is right there, and then the Jewish donors and everything else, the opposite that is happening. So it'll be a very, very interesting thing to see. So while all this was happening, we have the president, of the Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts, came out and defended Tucker Carlson for platforming Nick Fuentes, for hosting Nick Fuentes. Okay, so let's watch what he said and how quickly he walked these remarks back, and other people being fired. I'm just like, you guys, you either have principles or you don't. Hold to something. That way, if people are for it or against for it, it's just the same. But take a look at Kevin Roberts, what he said over here. All right, here we go. Where are you, Mr. Roberts?
On this in the coming days, but today I want to be clear about one thing. Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic. And of course, anti-Semitism should be condemned. My loyalty as a Christian and as an American is to Christ first and to America always. When it serves the interests of the United States to cooperate with Israel and other allies, we should do so, with partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure becomes from the globalist class or from their mouthpieces in Washington. The Heritage Foundation didn't become the intellectual backbone of the conservative movement by canceling our own people or policing the consciences of Christians. And we won't start doing that now. We don't take direction from comments on X, though we are grateful for the robust free speech debate. We also don't take direction from members or donors, though we are inherently grateful for their support. And we're adding more every day. This is the robust debate we invite with our colleagues, our movement friends, our members, and the American public. We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. And we have seen success in this approach as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left. As my friend Vice President Vance said last night, what I am not okay with is any country coming before the interest of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we are American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's where our allegiance lies, and that's where it will stay.
Okay, so that was the president of the Heritage Foundation, coming full force in defending Tucker Carlson. But that did not last long because he was interviewed by Dana Roach. So you can see how he looked over there, poised, the whole 9 yards, and here he is, being asked questions, and this did not go well. Take a look at this.
People feel confusion because they feel as though their criticisms, which seem to be scripturally based, are being maligned as the division that is being sown, or that's what is being described as venomous. And I think a lot of individuals find that hard to reconcile, especially when it's said in defense of someone who would say that they hate Christian Zionists, or they hate people like Mike Huckabee or Ted Cruz because they support Israel as a U.S. ally. Why doesn't that description go both ways?
That description can go both ways. What we're trying to do is eliminate that kind of venom both directions.
Is it venomous to say that you hate Christian Zionists?
Well, of course it is. I've been really clear, not just yesterday and today, but my entire career, that and the Heritage certainly has in its entire existence, that those kinds of things are just abhorrent. I said that literally yesterday.
Because Tucker said those things. So that would be, is that not sowing division?
It's certainly not helpful, but it doesn't mean that he ought to be canceled because if in
Well,
fact
that's
you
not
want
the
to
question.
persuade
That's not whether
someone.
he should be canceled. Is that sowing division to say things like that?
Oh, certainly in a lot of our friends' minds. But the point
But you
of
didn't put that
what
in your
I
statement,
reported,
though.
because the proximity or the context for the statement was something very different. And that was, as we were talking about a few minutes ago, all of the pressure that Heritage was receiving to cancel Tucker, which is just not, we wouldn't do that to you. We wouldn't do that to him. We wouldn't do it to friends who have other ideas, because ultimately what that looks like is sort of the purges of the French or Russian Revolution. And we get a
Right, and
conservative
I don't mean to
movement
interrupt you,
that,
I don't disagree with you
it's fine.
necessarily in terms of, you know, if that in terms of some of the comparisons, but what you call cancellation, I saw people trying to have some accountability and say, well, this seems like this only goes one way. Heritage put out a statement calling everyone who criticizes this, you know, venomous and sowing division, but yet they were silent when, you know, there was criticism of Ben Shapiro, accusing him of basically being an agent of Israel, or going after Mark Levin for something similar, or going after Mike Huckabee or Ted Cruz. And so how is that not canceling of those individuals, but criticism of the way Tucker handled his interview considered cancellation? That seems entirely hypocritical.
What Tucker does. Heritage.
But I'm talking about your statement, though, that you released.
No, which I was about to address.
Go ahead, sorry.
Heritage was not engaged in those comments about those people. I don't support those comments for those other friends in the movement. But the key point is, even in spite of that, it doesn't mean that we were going to call for the cancellation of Tucker. We're not going to call for the cancellation of anybody. We think that's ultimately counterproductive to the conversation that we need to have.
So I thought it's a really weak interview.
Yes. So you see how Kevin changed his tone real quick and real fast. Okay, real quick and real fast. No, you put out a video, and first of all, he didn't even have to do that. He didn't even have to say anything, because Tucker Carlson was not interviewing Nick Fuentes under the banner of Heritage Foundation. Tucker Carlson was not interviewing Nick Fuentes with the blessings of the Heritage Foundation. He could have just, let Tucker do whatever else he was doing. But the Heritage Foundation decided on his own, Kevin Roberts, like, you know what? Let me say something over here, okay? Let me come for my boy Tucker. He didn't even have to do that. The people came after Tucker because the interview, like, you gave Nick Fuentes a softball interview. It wasn't about you canceling Nick Fuentes. So, but they're framing this issue as, oh, so you want Nick Fuentes to be canceled. No. Have Nick Fuentes on and interview. Nick Fuentes had Candace on. Candace had Nick Fuentes on. I didn't hear anybody saying, what's her name? Candace Owens should be canceled for interviewing Nick Fuentes. In fact, she did press him on the issues, and Nick Fuentes was even mad at Candace Owens. You know what I mean? Said, no, that was a hostile interview and everything else. So just again, if you want to have Nick Fuentes on your platform, don't pretend like his ideas are not out in the public. You know what I mean? If you agree with him, agree with him. If you don't, then at least ask those questions, right? Because that was the issue that was in the domain. So yes. So somebody, let's see, because there was even apparently there are letters that are going out within the organization, this Heritage Foundation. People are getting fired, or they are, asking for people to get fired, like that, to that effect. So let me not even go into that, because what I heard allegedly, okay, I should say that the person who wrote the statement that Kevin Roberts read publicly, that's public available, was fired. So to me, I'm like, okay, why would he be fired? Because that was recorded. Kevin knew what he was reading. So why would you fire the person? You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. Apparently there's other people who have just quit because of what Kevin Roberts did. Like, okay, how are you gonna come here and endorse defending Tucker Carlson with what he did? So they walked away. So it looks like now Kevin Roberts is on tour to correct the record, because it looks like donors are like, no, we are pulling out. Either you have to go. So it looks like his job is also being threatened. So yes, guys, there is civil war dangling happening around this MAGA movement, and there's a lot. You know how it is, like in DC's politics. Okay, politics. So okay, yeah, here it is. Oh, it's so tiny, I won't be able to read it, but I'll just show it to you. Okay, so this is what they're saying. Okay, it says Dana. It says, speaking of counseling, the head of a think tank is sending out emails back channel ordering people to not hire or associate with those criticizing the Fuentes interview fallout. And this is the email out here. Apparently, it's also even being sent to lawmakers as well. So clearly, there is a movement that's happening inside the MAGA. Okay. And if that is not all, guys, if you can believe it, you have to be sitting down for this one. We have my MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, made an appearance. Made an appearance, guys. Guess where? Marjorie Taylor Greene on The View. So the idea, this issue, like, wait a minute. The MAGA is unraveling. Watch this. Okay. Oh.
There's a lot of paid. I think there's a lot of paid social media influencers. And I found it very interesting that they were the MAGA accounts, but they're all paid, and they all attacked me when I announced I was coming to join you ladies on The View. And I think that's very weak and pathetic. But when I talk about weak Republican men, I'm pretty much talking oftentimes about the leadership in the House and the Senate, and they're not getting our agenda done.
You just have to laugh. Okay. So that's shots fired against the Speaker of the House, obviously, because, he's the one who is in leadership. So who else would Marjorie? What does she mean by weak leadership, right? So just like, all right, fine. They call him MAGA Mike Johnson. The leftists out there. You've been warned. So I thought that was funny. Like, wait a minute. We have Marjorie Taylor Greene going to The View. Things are not good. Things are not good. All right. So I like what this young man said as far as this issue going on, okay? So let's watch the shortcut.
Raging right now on the conservative right in America. It's all about whether it's cancel culture to call out people on your own side. It started after Tucker Carlson's interview with Nick Fuentes, a man who's openly praised Hitler, mocked Jews, and peddled hate. Tucker gave him a soft, fawning, unchallenging interview, unlike Tucker's interview with, say, Ted Cruz. And when conservatives criticised that, suddenly the cry from other conservatives went, oh, here we go again, cancel culture. But hang on, why is it free speech when Tucker speaks, but not free speech when people criticise him? You can't have it both ways. This isn't cancel culture, it's moral clarity. Politics is supposed to be about values, about truth, right and wrong. If you can't call out bad values when they come from your own side, then what exactly are you defending? And honestly, what are we even saying? That no matter what someone says, no matter how evil an idea may be, if they're on your side, you must stay silent. Come on. That's not loyalty, that's moral blindness. And let's be clear, calling someone out isn't the same as cancelling them. It doesn't mean banishing them from public life. It just means saying, those ideas are wrong. That behaviour is beneath the standard we should expect. That's not censorship, that's accountability. That's what a healthy culture does. If your definition of cancel culture is criticising someone I like, then what you really want isn't free speech, it's immunity from criticism. Accountability isn't cancellation. Condemnation isn't censorship. It's the immune system of a moral society. Because if we only defend truth when it's convenient, we don't actually believe in it. So no, denouncing evil isn't cancel culture, it's integrity.
Issue of no enemies to the right. Okay? So when you have this issue, no enemies to the right, this is exactly what happens. Because there's some sins, a little leaven leavens the whole lump, right? If there's a sin in the camp, it needs to be purged, needs to be called out. But it's so easier to call out the left outside, but not inside. So it makes those people to be hypocrites. So what is your allegiance? Is it to truth or to, or quote unquote to MAGA? You see what I'm saying? So this is also the problem that's happening amongst Christians. There are people who are conservatives, but they're not Christians. So they're going to operate differently according to their worldview. But if you're a Christian, you cannot compromise on your Christian values because your politics don't come first, right? Your doctrine, your theology, your allegiance to Christ must inform your politics, right? It's theology and then politics. no politics, and then theology.